Hi, I'm Mark from Harbortronics. Thanks for watching this video clip introducing the DigiSnap Pro, which is a time-lapse system controller. I've been developing time-lapse controllers and systems for about 18 years, and this device embodies much of the experience I've gained over that time, as well as suggestions and feedback from countless customers who have used our equipment in environments all over the planet. A time-lapse system controller is intended for long-term time-lapse projects, which may last for many years at a stretch. In addition to camera shutter timing, a system controller must manage power to and from a battery pack, interaction from the operator, and a variety of other functions depending on the specific application. The DigiSnap Pro is the first time-lapse system controller to be offered for general sale, not just used in proprietary systems. You are welcome to use the DigiSnap Pro in your own time-lapse projects, do-it-yourself, or commercial. Let's take a quick look at the connections provided on the DigiSnap Pro. There will be more videos and documents which go through the details, but I'd like to briefly touch on each one now. The most obvious function of a time-lapse controller is to periodically trigger a camera to take a picture. You can configure up to 4 time-lapse sequences, each which can operate during particular times of the day as well as particular days of the week. This is a typical cable connection from the DigiSnap Pro to the shutter release socket. The factor that most distinguishes a long-term time-lapse project from a short one is power. A short-term project will generally use the camera's internal battery for power, limiting the number of shots to about 300. Some projects may use AC power for the camera, but for long-term projects, the camera must be powered from a more reliable power source. The DigiSnap Pro is powered from a 14.8 volt lithium-ion battery pack. Harbortronics supplies these with the Cyclass Pro system, but this is a technology commonly available from other sources. There are 2 battery connections on the DigiSnap Pro, allowing batteries to be swapped as needed without an interruption, or dual batteries may be used if additional capacity is required. The camera is then powered from a port on the DigiSnap Pro. There are a huge number of cameras which are compatible, some which require different voltages. The DigiSnap Pro can be configured by the operator to set the voltage to the needs of your particular camera model. Some cameras have a direct cable connection, but most SLR cameras will use a dummy battery pack. We can provide these with the matching plug for the DigiSnap Pro. Keeping the battery pack charged is another important function of a time-lapse system controller. The DigiSnap Pro can utilize power sources like a solar panel, wind turbine, battery banks, AC to DC converters, and power over Ethernet. External power sources are simply used to keep the battery pack charged, which in turn powers the controller and connected equipment. Here's a typical connection from a 10-watt solar panel to the DigiSnap Pro through a watertight connector which would be on the system housing. A switch on the DigiSnap Pro is used to trigger a test photo, to check the status of the system, to reset the DigiSnap Pro, and even to reset all of the settings to factory default. The LED is useful for testing, but obviously can't be easily seen when in a system housing. An external LED can be installed through the wall of the housing and attached to the DigiSnap Pro to provide quick information at a distance. A periodic blink will indicate status as well as the time to the next picture. A natural question is how to configure the settings in this black box. Over its development, we considered the use of an onboard LCD display, but found it to be difficult to access when there are a bunch of cables attached. In the end, we decided to make use of a wireless connection to a smartphone. The DigiSnap Pro includes 3 accessory ports, which provide a means of communication to the DigiSnap Pro as well as among the connected accessories. This is a substantial feature which will be discussed in other presentations. This is our Bluetooth module, which is a radio link to an operator's smartphone or tablet. This device can be remotely attached to the inside lid of the Cyclass housing or other locations that have clear radio coverage. Having the radio interface outside of the DigiSnap Pro's metal housing allows for much better connection range. We currently have an Android app available on Google Play, which will communicate through the Bluetooth module to the DigiSnap Pro, allowing configuration of the settings and other features. We also have a cable that can connect directly to a computing device for configuration in the office, but when changing the time-lapse settings in the field, the Bluetooth connection will be the primary means of configuration. That about covers the basics of a standalone time-lapse camera system. Battery power, charging from external power sources, camera control, camera power, status, and configuration. With these features well covered, one can set up a system that can operate unattended for very long periods of time. Beyond those basics, the very most requested feature is automated image transfer. I can argue extensively that this feature is not required most of the time, but I sure can't deny the appeal. I'm delighted to say that the DigiSnap Pro includes an additional set of features for networking and advanced applications. The majority of the time in the life of time-lapse camera systems, there's nothing going on. The system is asleep, waiting for the next time to take a picture. In order to work in a solar-powered system, the controller must be very efficient and not waste power during the periods between pictures. Networking equipment is rarely power efficient, as it's designed to be ready to move large amounts of data at any moment. The DigiSnap Pro maintains efficiency by only powering the networking hardware when actually needed to transfer data. There's a whole lot more to say about this, but I'll save it for another presentation. Let's take a look at the networking connections on the DigiSnap Pro. Wi-Fi is built in, which can be used to connect to a Wi-Fi router by means of an external antenna. As with the Bluetooth module, the external antenna allows for better range than if it were embedded inside the metal case, and the antenna can be positioned to provide the best coverage to the network. An Ethernet connection is provided for connection to a local area network. The cable would normally be routed through a watertight connection on the system housing. While many sites may not have Wi-Fi or Ethernet connections available, most will be in an area with cellular coverage. The DigiSnap Pro includes USB host ports, which can be used with a USB cellular modem. A short USB cable inside the system housing can be used to optimally locate the modem for best radio coverage. This is a typical USB cell modem available from Verizon. Automated image transfer obviously requires that the images be extracted from the camera. In normal use, the images are simply left on the memory card in the camera. A second USB host port in the DigiSnap Pro can connect to the camera to extract images. There are other potential camera control features that can be enabled through USB, but let's save this for another time. Lastly, we have two other ports to briefly mention. There are some applications for a long-term camera controller in addition to time-lapse. Without getting into too much detail, the DigiSnap Pro provides an extra connector with an input trigger and 3 outputs, which may all be configured for use in special applications. The final connection is intended to work with a small GPS module. Most long-term time-lapse installations are stationary, but the DigiSnap Pro could be used on a mobile application such as a barge, iceberg, etc. This port is essentially a serial port which may also be used with satellite modems. Thanks for having a peek at our DigiSnap Pro.